Hokage Starting from the Instant Full Level, Chapter 481-500. Chapter 481, How Far to Escape. Also, take a picture for me, and I'll hang it in the hall to enjoy it later. His Majesty, the dignified King of Alabasta, would do such a limitless thing. Wei Wei rolled her eyes helplessly and said, "No, I'll go back to Lord Ames. Also, Father, the next time you do something humiliating, can you stop getting involved with me?" Looking at Vivi, who rolled her eyes several times and turned to leave, Cobra was directly petrified on the spot. At the same time, the water source of Juba. Thousands of people have already gathered here. At the corpses and camels scattered around the deep pit where a little water emerged from the excavation to 7 or 8 meters. The civilians present suddenly turned pale. Didn't notice at all, 2 strange figures hiding in the crowd. Quote. All Sunday, is there really an unknown enemy in your mouth? A low voice echoed in the noise of the crowd. A body shaped like an iron tower, with prominent muscles, and a body that was obviously incompatible with refugees, was hidden in a sand-proof cloak. Of an ascetic monk adds to the inexplicable sense of perseverance. As for standing behind him, it was Nico Robin, the vice president of the Baroque Work Club, whose identity was revealed by Long-Yu's words. Face. Asked, Nico Robin looked solemn and said, "I received information from Arnabane 3 days ago. He mentioned that Cobra, the king of Alabasta, will arrive in Juba today to meet with the secret man brought by Princess Vivi for the first time." Speaking of which, Nicole Robin glanced at the phone bug in her hand and said, "If someone can really see through our plan at a glance, then I believe the most likely person is the person Cobra met today. Also, even if we can't find that person, we can take this opportunity to take off Cobra's head." Falling into silence, he nodded silently in agreement. For Crocodile, he held absolute loyalty. In the original book, after being defeated by Sauron, he also fell into the hands of the Navy headquarters and was escorted to the city prison. However, in the face of the third-class rescue, Crocodile, who was in a bad mood, stayed in the boat and refused to be rescued. He is also a man of chivalry. Right now, I am worried about Nico Robin. Doubt it, but as long as I help Crocodile, it's enough. It is for this very reason that Nicole Robin will be promised privately. Request, together with this one, unpaid task. Mosamoxi, I'm an elder of hundreds of millions, the vice president receives please immediately. Run as far as you can, don't stop, or you will die. The voice of the phone bug rang suddenly. Although the sound of the phone bug is turned down to a minimum, while being masked by other noisy sounds. However, for Nicole Robin and speaking of, it's not a problem. However, this sound transmission undoubtedly exceeded their expectations. As the strongest 2 under the command of Chiwahai, they came to this place in person to investigate the incident. However, the eyeliner who stayed in the king's army now only gave such an answer, which made them feel that they were caught off guard. Feel. PFF'd. A low sonic boom sounded suddenly. A huge black shadow, with an inexplicably depressed posture, shrouded the sky and covered the sky. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves, and it was too late to think about it. Hurriedly looked up at the sky, and the first thing that caught his eye was 6 huge bone dragons covered with people. The face of those extremely crazy enthusiasm, Long-Yu finally summoned 2 more to spend his vigorous energy on them. However, the 6 bone dragons are also not enough for tens of thousands of people. The end, if it wasn't for Long-Yu's cold snort, he did a little to stop the storm. I am afraid that the dragon has also been torn apart by them. Looking at the scene in front of him, Nicole Robin, who was still in doubt, and his expression changed slightly. They looked at each other and saw the shock on each other's faces. After all, they are not like the turtles here, who are the vice president of the Baroque Work Club, and the other one who is the most famous bounty hunter in the West Sea. They knew exactly what the bone dragons in front of them represented. After all, the escape from the Chinda prison and the public execution of the Tianlong people in the Chambord Islands not long ago shocked the entire sea. Moreover, not long ago, they also received the latest bounty amount offered by the world government to the great skeleton demon. That's an astronomical 1 billion. At this moment, they finally understood why the eyeliner just said such words to make them escape as soon as possible. Never occurred to me that this great god, who made the Navy headquarters devastated, would come to this place. However, there is one more thing Nico Robin can't figure out, if that prince is this big skeleton demon, so how does he know his identity? Chapter 482, Give 7 days of downpour. 6 huge bone dragons suddenly fell on the desert, and the huge impact force even carried a wind and sand back. The violent scene caused the refugees who gathered here to fall into chaos all of a sudden. However, after seeing the person standing above, the figure of Kosha, the leader of the rebel army, suddenly calmed down the originally panicked crowd. Yuan stared at the scene in front of him with a look of disbelief on his face. Everyone, calm down. This time, thanks to the assistance of Your Excellency Ains, we have reached a temporary armistice agreement with the Royal Army. Kosha was the first to speak. His first priority now is to stabilize the current situation. At the same time, he was eager to know what the great gift that Long Yu had just mentioned was. Thinking of this, Kosha jumped down on the bone dragon and said, "So, do Ent care about it next? Matter what happens, everyone must not be chaotic, and at the same time, they must not be rude. Because, Your Excellency Ains, in order to reach a strategic agreement with us in Alabasta, he will give us a gift." The awe-inspiring voice echoed in the desert. It can be said that when he said these words, Kosha didn't know where his confidence was. Front of tens of thousands of people, he said that Long Yu was going to give a good gift. In case it's just a small gift, maybe some so-called gold and silver jewelry. For them who lack the source of water and live in dire waters, it is of no use at all. Kosha, is that Ains Sama you're talking about? An old man suddenly pointed to the dragon feather standing on the head of the bone dragon. In front of everyone's eyes, he fell to his knees on the ground with a thud, and hurriedly asked for help. "Lord Ains, I see that you are very handsome. We don't want gold, silver, jewelry, or any reward. I just want to have a bite to eat. My granddaughter, I haven't eaten for 2 days. We old people can't eat, but the children can't bear it anymore. Lord Ains, please save my granddaughter. It was our turn to fetch water today, but we haven't had any water all day. Lord Ains, have you brought fresh water? We can do anything for you to pay for it. The old ones can survive, but the young ones can't." He hurriedly asked for help, and looked at the kneeling old men one after another, already cracked from the sun. Dry, peeling lips. It can be said that if it were not for the will, I would have died of thirst. Lord Ains, can you really do anything? I beg you to save them too. Wei Wei's eyes turned red all of a sudden. She left for a while, and she never thought that, again, things had evolved to this point. Looking at Wei Wei who was about to kneel, Long Yu slammed the scepter towards the ground, magic power surged, directly supporting Wei Wei's body, and the indifferent voice sounded immediately. "I, Ains Ergong, as the supreme being of the great tomb of Narisik, what I said is of course true. Now, I will give you 7 days of downpour." The people who were present with the torrential rain for 7 days couldn't help but froze in place. Even Vivi, Cobra and others are no exception. After all, in their expectation, Dingtian is also some food, fresh water, or gold and other things. However, as soon as Long Yu opened his mouth, he said that he would give them a downpour. Still 7 days. However, before they could react, Long Yu held a scepter and took the next step in front of everyone's eyes. The scepter clenched in his hand suddenly stomped towards the void. Dang! The violent magic power was suddenly detonated. That went straight to the sky above the 9 heavens, and the clouds accumulated in the void were pierced with a bang. One by one, colorful magic circles bloomed quickly, like dazzling fireworks. The air that was scorching hot was now a little cooler in the next moment. Immediately afterwards, under the raging wind, the wind and sand rolled. The boundless black ink-like lead clouds rolled back in all directions with a rolling gesture. Gives people a feeling that the mountains and the rain are coming and the wind is filling the building. Boom! The low sound of thunder echoed like a bell, and the ferocious electric snake cut through the sky. A moment ago, the sky with the scorching sun was covered by dark clouds in the blink of an eye. Before they could react, the sound of dripping rain suddenly sounded. Yes, it is rain. Ains-sama, send us a downpour. God, what the hell did I see? It's a miracle. No, we finally have water to drink. Hurry up and move everything that can hold water. This is a gift from Ains-sama to us. The voiceless exclamation sounded suddenly. Soon, it became a piece, like a symphony. Chapter 483, Promise. Of the long drought and the nectar in front of them, many people present couldn't hold back, and opened their hands to welcome the heavy rain that fell from the sky. His dry, cracked mouth bluffed, drinking the rainwater greedily. Together with the rebel army standing on the bone dragon, the king's army, and even the king of Kosha and Alabasta, Cobra is no exception. They never thought of the most fundamental cause of external and internal troubles that have plagued them for 7 or 8 years. He couldn't even shove the scepter in Long Yu's hand. Immediately it started to rain. Moreover, according to Long Yu, this lasted for 7 days, and it was completely impossible to even use dancing powder. This horse riding is a miracle. Thinking of this, Cobra and Kosha couldn't help but look at Long Yu one more time. If they were impulsive and rejected Long Yu's trading proposal directly, I'm afraid they don't know what will happen now. The big pirate with a reward of 1 billion yuan is really extraordinary. Lord Ains, I thank you for the people of Alabasta. The white exotic dress on Weiwei's body was already soaked by the rain. That tulle-like coat could hardly hide her inner beauty. It can be said that it gives the feeling that a red apricot is coming out of the wall, and the spring cannot be closed. However, this strange emotion, just sprouted in Long Yu's mind, was quickly eliminated by the Bone King's talent and negative emotions. He looked down at Weiwei a little, and stuck out a big hand of a pale skeleton, picked up a strand of hair on her forehead, and said, "This is just the beginning. If you know what I'll give you next, maybe it will be in the form of a gift. Promise." Who were present with their bodies were shocked for a while. And Cobra is no exception. Alabasta is in trouble at the moment, but Weiwei is also an Iron Princess. What's more, 800 years ago, their clan was still in the lineage of Tianlong people. If it wasn't too self-willed and unwilling to move in, I'm afraid I wouldn't be bullied by a Chihuahua now. Now Long Yu said as soon as he opened his mouth, the gift he gave would make the dignified Weiwei feel the urge to promise her. This made them even more curious as to what it was. After all, after experiencing the scene of the downpour just now, they were more curious as to what it was. However, facing the urgent gazes from the people around him, Long Yu suddenly raised his head, and the flame of the soul jumping in his eyes suddenly burst into flames, saying, "There are guests coming, I will come back when I go, and you should leave." These words, Long Yu stepped forward, and the space fluctuations emerged, the whole person passed through the portal, and disappeared in place out of thin air. The violent scene made the pupils of those present suddenly shrink. Originally, I planned to see what could make Weiwei promise each other, but now Long Yu disappeared out of thin air, which undoubtedly ruined their thoughts. Okay, originally, I also wanted to see, there is something that is worth my baby's promise, it seems that I have to wait for the next time. Cobra regained his senses, shook his head slightly with a look of loss, and said, "Father, are you planning to sell me?" Weiwei puffed out her cheeks and stared with her cheeks blushing. Feeling this murderous gaze, Cobra hurriedly smiled wryly and waved his hand to explain. No, the father doesn't mean that, I'm just a little curious, what can be better than the current torrential rain to Alabasta? More important." The people present were stunned for a while. Facing Cobra's words, he undoubtedly fell into deep thought. After hesitating for a moment, Wei Wei looked around the land as far as she could see, only to see a piece of yellow sand, and said with a melancholy face, "Apart from the rain, what we have lost the most in Alabasta is the fertile land. Ba is no longer here. It would be great if the gift mentioned by Lord Ains could be the old Juba." The voice of regret echoed in the rainstorm. The people present fell into silence. The face of Wei Wei's extravagant hopes, it can be said that this idea also appeared in their minds just now. Just that, in their eyes, the next 7-day torrential rain is already amazing. Not to mention, it is nonsense to make a desert glow with new spring. Other hand, it is tens of thousands of meters away from the water eye where the crowd gathers. In cloaks rode camels and rushed towards Yuyan. Feel the torrential rain that hits me mercilessly in the sky. And the shocking scene just now, for the two of them, it was simply a nightmare. Who would believe it if you didn't see it with your own eyes? Their Baroque work club took a lot of effort to be able to take away the rain from Juba. However, now it was poured down by the big skeleton demon, and it was pouring rain, breaking the game they worked so hard to set up. It can be said that if this matter is known to Crocodile, who has always been self-sufficient, absolutely won't believe it. Chapter 484. Is this your ultimate move? Quote. Haven't contacted the president yet. Wait a minute, no matter what. Whatever happens, we must not mess up. Nico Robin couldn't help but glance back, busy dialing Crocodile's phone bug. However, as soon as the eyes fell, I heard it. And shouted in a hurry. Be careful all Sunday, he's coming. Nico Robin's expression changed drastically, and her nerves suddenly became tense. Without thinking too much, I hurriedly looked ahead. First thing that catches the eye is the space vortex torn out, and the huge skeleton figure walking out slowly. My guest, he left without saying hello. Just as Long Yu stepped on the yellow sand, he suddenly raised his head, the soul flames in the depths of his eyes suddenly soared, and he looked at the fast galloping figure. As the supreme being of the great tomb of Narasak, your actions will make me very confused. Could it be that under the absolute strength gap, you still don't give up? The deep voice, between the lines, is full of icy taste. The violent scene made Nico Robin and, with a slight change in expression, they shouted in unison. Go! Bang bang bang. The simple words were uttered, and the two camels rushed towards Long Yu like crazy. Nicole Robin on the back of a camel. With no intention of stopping at all. Of more than 10 meters is only approaching in the blink of an eye. Oh, it seems that some people really won't cry if they don't see the coffin. Long Yu said lightly. The scepter in his hand, he stomped lightly on the ground. The sigh of death. Bang! The jet-black aura of death, like a frenzy, quickly rewinds with the dragon feather as the center. The two camels rushing towards them didn't react yet, and instantly hit the black aura. However, wherever the black energy passed, the huge camel instantly turned into a bone. One, who were sitting on the back of a camel, suddenly shrank their pupils. The next moment, he was directly entangled by black air. Bang bang. Two low, pitched gas explosions sounded suddenly. Nico Robin and. At this moment, it exploded like a balloon and turned into petals scattered in the sky and earth. A fruit clone, not Nico Robin, the think tank of Lockworks. Long Yu smiled warmly. After the dark aura of death rolled away, the yellow sand beneath his feet made a rustling sound. The next moment, the screams burst out. Wan Ziqianhong. Strangulation. Bang bang bang. A hand protruded out of the yellow sand without warning. Like dense vines, it quickly spread towards Long Yu's body. The speed is so fast that in just half a breath, the dragon feather is wrapped into a zongzi. The next moment, a huge body rushed out of the yellow sand. When the cold light circulated all over the body, giving a feeling of indestructibility, the moment when the blade was swallowed in the hand. Without any bells and whistles, he slashed head-on towards the dragon feather that was bound into a zongzi. Extinguishing crack. A deep voice spit out, and with his hands entangled, he slashed on Long Yu's body. Bang! A series of vertical and horizontal slashes burst out like a frenzy. Like the claws of invisible beasts, even the desert land with a radius of tens of meters was torn apart with ferocious slashing marks. The arm that was wrapped around Long Yu and condensed with wawa fruit was also smashed into pieces in an instant. Turned into petals all over the sky and collapsed between heaven and earth. In the face of this precise combination, the Baroque Work Club, the vice president and the top bounty hunters in the West Sea joined forces. It can be said that if it were an ordinary person, he would have been killed by a single blow and turned into pieces of meat all over the ground. However, under the petals flying all over the sky, a huge skeleton that flickered as black as steel was the first to appear. And in front of Nico Robin. Huo Ran turned around, and under the eyes where the soul flame emerged, the icy voice was even more soul-stirring. Is this your ultimate move? It's disappointing as always. Long Yu looked back at the person who was close at hand. One road, the one should accept the baptism of the strong. Come on, accept the embrace of the strong. The fall of the super magical sky. When the scepter fell, the magic circle bloomed like fireworks. Dormant, in Long Yu's body, under the frenzied emergence of violent magic. The next moment, a dangerous breath swooped down in the sky. Run away. Nico Robin, who was dozens of meters away, raised her anxious voice. However, as soon as the voice fell, there was a tearing roar and explosion in the sky. Boom! The fiery beam of light instantly enveloped a radius of thousands of meters with the gesture of tearing space. Under the violent power, while his expression changed drastically, he, who was able to escape more than 10 meters away, had completely given up escaping. A deep, violent drink came out of his mouth, and his muscles swelled like a rock. Of the devil fruit is also driven to the extreme. Chapter 485, 5% Power. The next moment, the fiery beam of light suddenly fell. Boom! A thunderous explosion rolled away. Under the scorching air waves, the surrounding yellow sand land was directly penetrated. The sandstorm swept away like a storm. Took more than half a minute for the scorching heat to dissipate. Of desert land, only a large pit of more than 10 meters is left. Nico Robin's figure was lying slanted in the desert, and the hands that were used for defense around him, with the help of the fruit's ability, were quickly dissipating. As for the one more than 10 meters away from Long Yu, was tattered all over, standing on the spot steaming hot. Looking at this scene, Nicole Robin, who was struggling to stand up, showed a smile on her face. You'll be fine, let's not fight, we should retreat first, he is not something we can deal with. Facing Long Yu's extremely bizarre attack method, Nico Robin's confidence was obviously completely defeated. Escape. With a trace of scarlet blood remaining on the corner of his mouth, he raised his head to meet Long Yu's gaze, and said, he didn't use all his strength, we can't escape. I want to know how much power you used for that blow just now, 7 out of 10, or 5 out of 10. In 1 foot's eyes, since there is no way to escape horizontally or vertically, the only thing he can do is to try the depth of Long Yu for Crocodile. Is also good to give Crocodile a combat environment as close as possible to the one who knows himself and the other, so as to increase the odds of victory. As expected of Crocodile's most loyal comrade, he actually thought of a way to test the enemy by himself. Long Yu laughed dryly and said, since you are so serious about friendship, then I will tell you. Just now was only 5% of my power, I just didn't want to kill you. 5% power. The words fall, don't say yes. Even Nico Robin's face changed drastically. She knew very well that in the Baroque Work Club, she had more power than Hi. But when it comes to combat power, it is second only to Crocodile. However, now she can also feel the one of her hand, in front of the skeleton demon, she is only forcing out 5% of her power. There is no half-lie in these words, then the skeleton in front of him will fight with all his strength. To what extent will the strength reach? 5%. Muttering to himself, Huo Ran looked up at Long Yu and said, "It seems that my eyesight has deteriorated." For a pirate bounty hunter, the ability to judge the difference in strength is the most important thing. However, now facing this deep, the unpredictable existence made such a big misjudgment. Shame for a bounty hunter. Quote exclamation mark quote. No, you should be called Dasbonis. Long Yu said lightly. As the strongest bounty hunter in the West Sea, you, like crocodile, committed the deadliest point. Hiding in such a weak sea will only rust your body functions. Even in the New World, you don't understand the prevailing armed arrogance. It can be said that you are out of touch. The slightly elongated voice made Daz's expression moved. Facing Long Yu's remarks, he was completely unable to refute. After all, the misjudgment of strength just now has already explained all this. However, looking at your chivalry, I'll give you a chance. Long Yu lightly raised his head and looked at Daz. Under the surging magic power on his body, the appearance of the Bone King disappeared. Restored Laxus stance. Right hand suddenly grabbed it in the void, and an ancient samurai sword fell into his hand. You are planning to fight me with kendo. Daz's expression changed slightly. Even Nico Robin is no exception. In their eyes, the most powerful thing about Long Yu is the Demon Skull Demon, the Devil Fruit ability. There are also endless ways to attack. However, now Long Yu not only gave up the fruit ability posture, but instead used the kendo that Daz is good at. This is undoubtedly beyond Nico Robin's cognition. What's the matter, do you want to gamble? Long Yu entered Laxus's character instantly, and said coldly and arrogantly, if you beat me in swordsmanship, I will let you go. However, if you lose, you will abandon Crocodile and become my subordinate. As your subordinate, Daz's expression changed slightly, even Nico Robin was no exception. For negotiation in front of her clearly gave Nico Robin hope. Are you letting me go on purpose? Daz looked at Long Yu and said in a deep voice, my kendo is different from others. It has been completely integrated with the fruit ability. If you fight against me with kendo alone, you will definitely lose. Because I have Kuai-Janran who has Kuai-Sho fruit, your knife will not be faster than mine. As a superhuman devil fruit ability, Sauron faced him in the original book, but suffered a lot. On the verge of death, if it weren't for the explosion of the small universe, I'm afraid it would have turned into bones. Facing the confident Daz, Long Yu pursed his arrogant cheeks slightly and said with a smile, the world of swordsmanship is only fast and unbreakable. Chapter 486. I am missing someone, help me manage. I'm sorry, but I also happen to know the way of the fast sword. Daz looked startled, watching the moment when Long Yu clenched the scabbard with his left hand and the hilt of the hilt with the 5 fingers of his right hand. The whole person's breath has undergone earth-shaking changes. When Huo Ran raised his head, his eyes were as sharp as a falcon. If it is said that Long Yu just a moment ago gave him the feeling that he was a layman in kendo, so now, he feels to Daz like a sharp-edged blade. Sharp and compelling. At this moment, Daz finally understands that Long Yu's request for a duel in swordsmanship is not a matter of words. I take back the contempt I just made, as a fellow man, but I will still defeat you, swear by my quick cut. Daz said in a low voice. The voice fell, but it hadn't completely dissipated. Dormant, when the power of the fruit in the body was pushed to the extreme by Daz, the feet quickly turned into sharp blades like ice skating shoes. At the moment when both hands and 10 fingers turned into blades, without any hesitation, both feet slammed towards the ground. The whole person turned into a sharp arrow, violently plundering towards Long Yu. Looking at the rapidly dilated figure in his pupils, a flash of determination flashed across Daz's face. Take my strongest move. Dust-chopping speed knife. The awe-inspiring words came out, and at the moment when the 4 eyes met, Daz had already appeared in front of Long Yu. In his eyes, this distance is enough to kill anyone. However, just as this thought flashed in his mind, Long Yu suddenly raised his head and met Daz's eyes. The next moment, before he could react, the sound of thunder ripped apart like a frenzy. Breath of thunder, thunder, flash, 10 burials. Boom, 10 ghostly figures scattered in an instant with the dragon feathers in front of them, occupying all the vision in front of them. A posture that seemed to be substantial, it suddenly returned to one in the void. In Daz's hand had not yet selected the enemy, and a thunderlight swept past like a fright. And, it was a dozen or so behind Daz. Out of the figure of the dragon feather. Still a crackling sound in the arc that circulated on his body. Looking at this strange scene, Nico Robin saw 10 identical dragon feathers in her eyes just now, and then the light flashed, and Long Yu and Daz switched places. Even the exact fight is not right. Daz, why are you standing in the same place? I didn't mean to compete in kendo just now. This is our last hope. Don't lose the chain. Nico Robin couldn't help but reminded. Who was standing in the same place like a sculpture. He turned around slowly. Was the first to enter the scene, but her pupils shrunk suddenly. PFF'd. A bloody arrow spewed out without warning. The ferocious mouth of blood, from the bottom of Daz's left abdomen, went straight to the top of his right shoulder, and directly spanned the entire body. Senbai's bones, in the flesh and blood, are even more shocking. Seeing the dramatic change in Nico Robin's expression, Daz was stunned for a moment, then lowered his head and glanced at it. The abnormal shape in his chest was stunned for a moment, and then the tense muscles all over his body relaxed instantly. After taking one more look at Long Yu, he lost his balance and slammed into the desert. On the huge battlefield, only the last words with a little self-deprecating reverberation were left, echoing between the heavens and the earth. It turns out that you have already beheaded me. Lost. Nico Robin looked in disbelief. The Baroque work, he has the strength second only to the Shichibukai crocodile. It is also the trump card in Nico Robin's eyes. Every time you encounter a task that cannot be solved, as long as you let one shoot, you will definitely be able to win. However, in the face of the slash that had just caught a glimpse, the result completely overturned her cognition. As a person with the superhuman type and the ability to cut fruit quickly, he didn't even know that he was beheaded. Who would believe it if you didn't see it with your own eyes? Messy thoughts flashed in Nico Robin's mind, and when she came back to her senses, she had already met Long Yu's gaze. His expression suddenly froze, and he gritted his teeth and said, "You can kill me, but I will never let you send me to the world government." Even if she died, she wouldn't talk. Nico Robin took out a dagger that had been hidden for many years, and stabbed it directly into her throat. This is what she hides on her body, always reminding herself that if she can't escape one day, in order to avoid falling into the hands of the world government, she will use it to solve herself. When the crisp metal collision sound suddenly echoed, Nico Robin just felt a numbness in her hand, and the dagger flew out directly. He saw Long Yu appearing in front of him like a ghost. A height of nearly 2 meters, he met her gaze in a bird's-eye view. Immediately, with a thud in her mind, a large warm hand directly covered her head. "Let's go, I need someone to help me manage." These words, Long Yu recklessly rubbed Nico Robin's hair, then turned around and walked towards Daz with a face full of astonishment. Chapter 487. The Navy even colluded with pirates. "Don't you want me to give it to the world government? I'm the son of evil, the best bargaining chip between you and the world government." Nico Robin resisted and asked. As the only person on this sea who can read the blank 100-year history, Nico Robin's value is immeasurable. Otherwise, there will be no reward of 80 million at the age of 8. "I don't mind if you want." Under the magic power of Long Yu's right hand, he summoned a skeleton knight and carried Daz directly on his shoulders. After throwing a healing magic at random, he looked back at Nico Robin and said, "If you don't want to, then don't worry, I'm much better than Crocodile. If you think about it, just follow." The magic power emerged from Long Yu's body, and he regained the posture of the Bone King again. He stomped the scepter in his hand, and the huge bone dragon turned out. Seeing the scene like a conjuration, Nicole Robin's face changed slightly, she bit her red lips, and quickly followed. At the same time, outside the rain feast, dozens of pirates rushed in quickly, laughing horribly as they looked at the merchants and civilians rushing to the city along the way. I didn't expect that Chihuahua would secretly ask us to rob these merchants. Isn't he the hero of this city? Who took the lead laughed playfully. The thin man behind him smiled playfully and said, "What does this have to do with us? If you want to blame it, you can blame him. The people here really regard him as a hero. We only need to grab the money. If we don't have any money, and then use this information to blackmail him, then Chihuahua will be a steady stream of treasuries, and we won't have to be chased by the Navy all day. The two leaders are right, let's go grab it quickly." These words fell, the pirates in the field echoed. For them, these businessmen and civilians in front of them have long since become fish on a sticky board. If it is not for fun, and according to Crocodile's request, be sure to chase to the gate of the city and let others see it with their own eyes. Spread the story of saving him as a hero. That was getting closer and closer. When he was getting excited, Bastius, who was hiding at the end of the line, suddenly changed his expression. Before he could think about it, he suddenly closed his hands, and quickly covered his body with color and domineering. As soon as all this was completed, the desert land in front of him sounded a low sonic boom without warning. The next moment, in front of everyone, like a slashing attack, he went straight to a group of pirates and plundered. The speed is so fast that no ordinary pirate can react at all. Wherever the slash passed, the pirates along the way were torn into two halves like paper. Was even a scream of misery, and before it had time to make it out, it turned into a blood mist that filled the sky and collapsed between heaven and earth. Seeing this violent scene, Bastius, who displayed his domineering look, his face sank, and the shark slashing knife in his hand slashed towards the desert and slashed out. A dull thunderous explosion resounded loudly. Under the unrelenting collision, the sand and dust rolled back like a hurricane. The huge air wave even set off a large area of yellow sand. Everything returned to calm. Bastius subconsciously looked at Crocodile, who was standing above the city gate, his face gloomy. "Thank you, thank Lord Crocodile for helping, you are the patron saint of our rainy banquet. If it wasn't for Lord Crocodile's 3 or 4 shots, I'm afraid the huge Alabasta would have no safe place, and even the rain banquet would be occupied by the pirates and the rebel army." The rescued merchants and civilians were stunned at first, and after seeing the crocodile on the city gate and the pirates who were torn to pieces, they hurriedly knelt on the ground and thanked them. A good self-directed and self-acted hero play, Bastius said with a gloomy expression. After he separated from Long Yu, he planned to collect the evidence of the Kibui crocodile. Never occurred to me that as soon as I found a deserted port, I was met by a group of pirates who were sectarians and pirates. They misunderstood them as accomplices, and came to Yuyan to send their heads. However, Bastius didn't expect that all of this could be regarded as a crooked play to let him see this despicable scene. Lieutenant Admiral Crocodile also noticed that among the pirates who should have been killed by him with one move as usual, a different figure appeared. When he saw Bastius's face clearly, his face suddenly became gloomy. This time, his plans were very secretive. At the same time, vice admirals, generals of this rank, generally only stay in the New World. Rarely haunts here. Now suddenly appearing here, still mixed in the pirates, let Crocodile smell an unusual smell. It's no wonder that the Navy has colluded with the pirates. The Alabasta rebels and pirates are rampant. The Navy headquarters didn't say it at all. It was because of this reason. A businessman suddenly spoke up. Facing this violent scene, Bastius couldn't help but startled. Chapter 488, Collecting Evidence. But before he could open his mouth to refute, the crowd of melon eaters all around fell to one side. It turns out that the Navy turned out to be such a face. I knew early on that there were no good things in the Navy. If we hadn't come to the rescue of Lord Shichibuhai Crocodile, I'm afraid we would have already died. Despicable Navy, we will definitely complain to you. One after another, swearing came out from the crowd. Bastiu's expression changed involuntarily, and he had planned to expose Crocodile's true face as a self-directed and self-acting hero in public. I never thought that at this juncture, someone would directly take a step back. Looking at the scene in front of him, Crocodile breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Everyone, please be patient. There is such a person in the Navy headquarters. As Chihuahua, I also have the right to supervise. I will wait a while. Call the Navy headquarters and let them investigate this matter thoroughly. However, Bastius, I intend to advise you now, immediately. Leaving Alabasta, this is not a place you can go." Having said this, Crocodile looked at Bastius coldly. "If it's not for the sake of it, I don't know if there is any Navy eyeliner nearby." At the same time, he looked at Bastius. The jet black armament color was domineering. Crocodile didn't have much confidence in being able to take him down in one face. After all, when he was invited to be the Chihuahua, Bastius followed Zepha's side. Crocodile still knew a little about his face and strength. A good trick to refer to a deer as a horse. Bastiu met Crocodile's gaze and said, "I didn't expect that you planned to invade Alabasta like the teacher guessed. However, don't think that this plan can be guaranteed. These people may be tempted by you, but soon the teacher will tear your mask, and then I will personally catch you and send you to the Judiciary Island for trial." These words, Bastius didn't stay too long, turned around and left. Under Long Yu's command, the first thing he learned was neither domineering nor any physique. On the contrary, the difference in the strength of the enemy and as is judged. In the original work, the Chihuahua crocodile seems to be just that. If not because of the halo of the footsteps, he was killed by the plot pit. Who died is actually the Straw Hat. Facing K, who is the Sea of Seven Seas and has the ability of the natural type Rust Fruit. Bastius knew very well that he could not defeat it by himself. What's more, the task that Long Yu gave him was to collect evidence of Crocodile's occupation of Alabasta. The battle is still left to Long Yu. Seeing Bastiu who turned and left neatly, Crocodile couldn't help but startled. In his memory, Bastius was an old stubborn type just like the former admiral, Black Wrist Zepha. I also like to talk about justice all day long. Didn't even think that he would pat his butt and leave after a round of mouth cannons. This result subverted Crocodile's cognition. He thought that the old immortal Zepha who should have retired might appear in Alabasta. Crocodile couldn't help frowning. After taking one more look at Bastiu, Huo-Ran turned around and disappeared into the same place. He now desperately wants to go back and find Nico Robin to find out if he has grasped the traces of other navies setting foot in Alabasta. The huge conference room was directly slammed open by Crocodile, and the documents that should have been placed on the table were also carried away by the wind and sand. Looking at the dead silent meeting room, without even a single figure, Crocodile's face suddenly turned gloomy. In his memory, Nicole Robin, as a tool of his manipulation of the Baroque works, rarely leaves here. If there is really something that can't be solved, she will only ask one to solve it. Now suddenly disappeared, which made Crocodile smell a little unusual, and quickly took out the phone bug of contact one with a backhand. However, before Crocodile dialed, a phone worm's prompt sounded abruptly. The Crocodile ran away quickly. Familiar voices came out intermittently in the phone bug. Echoing in this dead silent meeting room, there was no way to disperse for a long time. Facing this violent scene, Crocodile couldn't help but stare at the phone bug in disbelief. It can be said that, in his eyes, the huge Baroque work club, except for Nico Robin, a woman who can interpret the world. The most important thing is one. As for the others, in Crocodile's eyes, they were just dead and dead. Now all of a sudden, the person he values most, let him run away quickly. Chapter 489, Unreliable Chihuahua. He is the dignified seven-armed sea-sand crocodile. Crocodile, when have I heard such a ridiculous joke? Moses, Moses, I am the Warring States. The voice of the phone bug rang suddenly. that was placed on the table. Nico Robin was originally in charge of the call from the Navy's Shichibukai. Crocodile's face sank, and he decided to pick it up. I'm Crocodile. It's been a long time since the Warring States Marshal. Words disappeared, and there was a brief dead silence in the other part of the phone bug. I am afraid that it was obvious that Crocodile did not appear. Crocodile, it's nice to hear your voice, and not others to perfunctory me. Warring States cleared his throat and said, the Seven Seas recruitment order, you should know it. As a member of Shichibukai, you should have not helped the world government and the Navy headquarters to complete their tasks for 3 years, so I hope you will come to help this time to encircle and suppress the world destroyer Bonduald. As the Marshal of the Navy headquarters, the confidence of the Warring States period is not ordinary people can compare. As soon as he opened his mouth, he went straight to the point. Crocodile was full of anger, and snorted coldly, Warring States, did you make a mistake? Because last time, I refused to execute the call-up order, did you deliberately let the retired old man Zephana go to Alabasta to pester me? Don't forget, once this kind of thing spreads, what will the other Chiwahai think? At that time, I am afraid it will be difficult for you to end it. The awe-inspiring voice, with a rush. The taste of compulsion. Facing another brief silence from the phone bug, Crocodile was planning to prepare for the next wave of mouth guns. The next moment, the reply came, but he couldn't help being stunned in place. Crocodile, what are you talking about, old Zepha, how can you have time to serve you? Don't take yourself too seriously in front of Zepha. If I go to invite him, I won't be able to invite him, let alone you. The answer that was extremely annoying, at this moment, seemed to be filled with a magical sound, and it echoed in the conference room for a long time, and there was no way to disperse it. However, Crocodile refuted it 3 times at a time. He clearly knew that with his status in the Warring States period and his temperament, he would not play tricks on him. Since he said now that Zepha didn't come to Aston, it must not have been. Then, who was Bastio's teacher just now, or said that this teacher does not exist at all, just to frighten him? When he thought of this, Crocodile subconsciously hung up the phone bug. Listening to the busy tone coming from the phone bug, the Warring States look in the office of the Marshal of the Navy headquarters froze at first, and then roared angrily the next moment. Damn Crocodile, he was talking nonsense just now, and now he hangs up on my phone again. I will definitely dismiss him next time we meet. Seeing the startled Warring States period, Kizaru and Akainu, who were guarding here, stood up in unison. Since he doesn't come, it's useless to wait any longer. We should go too. After all, we only rely on those guys, but we can't do it. Akainu said coldly. Huang Yuan couldn't help but crookedly said, Marshal of the Warring States, if you think you are so angry that you have nowhere to put it, you can change it with me, and I will stay at the headquarters for you to watch. Get out of here, little devil with soy sauce. Warring States glared at him and said, if the mission cannot be completed this time, you will bring me back 10 pirates with a reward of over 100 million. Damn Carp, he hasn't shown up yet. When he was leaving, he even stole Lao Su's senbei. Next time we meet, I have to tear his bones apart. Hu was about to run wild at once, and the shriveled Kizaru, he shrugged his shoulders and left with Akainu indifferently. In Kayabu's eyes, there are many pirates in the New World with a bounty of over 100 million. With his fruit ability, it is simply a large group. Moreover, for this kind of task, he has already played soy sauce many times. After all, when it comes to making up for performance, Kizaru is in existence at the speed of light, and in the naval headquarters, who can compare with it? Okay, don't be unlucky here in the Warring States period. If Chiwahai can really be trusted, we old bones have already retired. Crane, who stayed here, suddenly spoke up. However, I heard that Garp returned to the East China Sea this time, and under the recommendation of Laxus, he collected a lot of useful talents, not to mention Garp's grandson. There is also a pirate hunter Roroya Zoro, Sanji Kurozu of the restaurant on the sea, and a sniper with a long nose. his strength can reach the level of a captain. As long as there is more training, there is a great chance to become a lieutenant general, and maybe even have the ability to become a general. The slightly elusive voice made Sengoku recover a little from the rampage. He was stunned for a moment and said, "These words, it's not that Cap has drunk too much, he's bragging. A place like the East China Sea doesn't feel like a genius." As the weakest existence in the four great seas, it was also because of Roger, the Pirate King, who made a fool of himself when he was beheaded in Rog Town. Chapter 490, Navy Spring. Deceived people who had some strength to go out to sea one after another. Moreover, as a naval hero, Garp often finds excuses to go back to the East China Sea for a stroll. Those slightly stronger pirates have already been beaten by him as an excuse. The entire East China Sea was simply overwhelmed by a naval hero. That's what Garp said, and I can't say anything else. Crane replied indifferently. However, the sea has become more and more chaotic recently, and the big skeleton demon doesn't know where to hide. We should find him as soon as possible. Thinking of the demolition of the City Grand Prison and the chaos in the Chambord archipelago, the Crane, who is like a think tank, also feels that his brain is not enough. Don't worry, I have already sent more people to investigate, and I have contacted the world government to let the elite espionage organization pay attention to the whereabouts of the great skeleton demon. Facing this guy, I have a feeling that I have a feeling for the four emperors. If I don't deal with him sooner, I'm afraid it will be a big problem in my heart. Crane also nodded in agreement, and after a moment of hesitation, he said, "By the way, I received a contact from Bastiu not long ago, and he is now following Laxus in his practice. At the same time, he also sent me a copy of the document. This is an explanation of the 6 forms and the 6 forms' profound truth. The level of detail of this explanation is more detailed than that in our current naval boot camp. Among them, there are also the fusion use of the 6 styles, the iron finger gun, the iron foot, etc. All have notes." Looking at the information that Crane took out, the Warring States period simply became more and more exciting. And, I couldn't help but say, these experiences are not comparable to the teaching system in the boot camp. The level of detail and the depth of explanation are completely standard textbooks. Looking at the shocked Warring States, he also nodded heavily and said, "When I first saw it, it was the same as your perception. Especially the explanation of the 6-type profound meaning is more detailed than what Garp and you have formulated. If he is used on the senior generals of the Navy headquarters, it may be able to raise the overall combat power of our Navy to a higher level." Speaking of this, he said in a deep voice, "At that time, our naval headquarters may not be the 3 generals, or there will be a situation where the 4 generals and the 5 generals stand side by side. Once this time comes, I am afraid it will be the spring of our naval headquarters." These words fell, the expression of the Warring States couldn't help changing. The unique version of the 6-style profound meaning of the Navy headquarters is in the hands of the master. At least if it reaches the Major General, it has the opportunity to observe 1 or 2. Reach the rank of Lieutenant General, you can apply for the number of viewings per year. However, Sengoku admitted that he and Garp were not suitable for being teachers at all. They can indeed achieve something. But wait until they are going to take notes to explain. But it became a little bit ignorant of the beginning and the end, and the notes I often took down could only be understood but not conveyed in words. This has led to the fact that very few people in the naval headquarters can achieve the existence of the 6 types of profound meanings. Moreover, because it takes more time and effort to comprehend the profound meaning through the 6 forms, and it is possible that all the effort will go to waste. Instead, many people turn to the pursuit of the devil fruit and the domineering cultivation, completely ignoring the power of the 6 forms. After all, as a hero of the Navy headquarters, Garp is known as the Iron Fist, who punches a mountain with 1 punch. However, the development of the 6 type, even more so, sunk the ambitions of the Rocks pirates. This point alone has already demonstrated the importance of the 6 forms. If it is matched with high-level armament, the power will increase by 2 or 3 levels. If this manuscript is really popularized, it must be like what the Crane said, the spring of the Navy will usher in the Warring States period. Shouldn't be said that there is still a touch of emotion. Over the years, the overall strength of the Navy has continued to grow, but compared with the era of the great pirates set off by Roger, the Pirate King before his death, the ever-increasing pirate power is still growing slowly, and there seems to be a bit of a gap. In particular, when one thinks of the New World, the remnants of the Rock's pirates have separated from the sea and become the king overlord in the mouth of the pirates. The back of Sengoku's head was aching. However, in order to make a force grow, it still needs more talent training, and it takes time, not words to judge. At least, the only people who can hold the position of general in the Navy are Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru. Only 3 people in existence, and the only ones who stand out a little among the lieutenant generals are Peach Rabbit and T-Dolphin. To cultivate new generals' combat power in a short period of time is something that the Warring States did not dare to imagine. However, now from the hands of Laxus, the application of the 6 forms profound truth is beyond their understanding. This is from the shallow to the deep, from the in-depth explanation method, with various application schemes. The combination of 6 styles and domineering, the fusion of profound meaning and kendo. Some ideas are completely beyond the Sengoku can imagine. Chapter 491. Do you think crocodile can beat me? Once the Navy elites who have been dabbling in, or developing in this direction, get this manuscript, they can definitely avoid a lot of detours. Crane, inform Zephyr and let him come to the Navy headquarters in person. Warring States clenched the manuscript in his hand, and immediately said, "No, I will go there myself to let him know that there is a teacher in this world who knows how to teach people better than him. Otherwise, this guy usually sees the old man with a stern face, and only needs to beat me." Looking at Sengoku, who laughed out loud and walked out quickly. The Crane sighed helplessly, frowning in thought. That day, this Laxus appeared on the pirate ship of the Hydra. Karp had already made an offer to join the Navy as a brigadier general. Now, it seems that the brigadier general's status is still subservient. Possessing the ability of the Thunder attribute natural devil fruit, and also understands the true meaning of the 6th-style profound meaning, once it grows up, it is definitely not comparable to a mere lieutenant general. I am afraid that I will be able to claim the throne of the general. No, I have to ask the guy Karp to ask him shamelessly. If he can be drawn into the Navy headquarters, this is a ready-made general's combat power. The Crane muttered to himself, and quickly followed. 3 days later, on a high tower in Yuba, Long Yu stood by the window and watched as many villagers brought various specialties and placed them in front of the soldiers stationed outside the tower, thanking them in the direction of Long Yu. Then turned to leave. It can be said that after these 3 days, at least half of the rebels and civilians gathered in Juba, 7 or 8, and 10,000, came here to make a pilgrimage. The face of the drought of the past, life is worse than death. A word from now will make it raining heavily for 7 days. It's a miracle for anyone. Moreover, the news quickly spread throughout Alabasta, and many refugees rushed towards Juba. In the face of this sudden scene, the originally opposing king's army and the rebel army also put aside their prejudices one by one, and took the lead in solving the current personnel governance situation. Juba, which had lost a lot of population due to desertification, ushered in a population reflux for the first time. Vivi. Cobb and Ecolem looked at each other and couldn't help but wink at Vivi. It has been pouring rain for the past 3 days, and there are people who were not brought back by Long Yu. After confirming their identities, they are the vice president of the Baroque Work Club and the strongest killer. As for Alabastas, Cobra was completely on Long Yu's body. If someone told Cobra now that the Navy is more reliable than the skeleton demon, I'm afraid he will be the first in a hurry and the rhythm will be, first come 2 rains before talking. However, Cobra is the king of Alabasta, but the greater the importance of Long Yu, the more restrained he is. Moreover, in Cobra's eyes, Long Yu and Wei Wei are obviously a little closer. This undoubtedly made Wei Wei his voice, and he would call out Wei Wei for anything, no matter how big or small, and let her help spread the word. Seeing Cobra, who had turned on the mode again, Vivi puffed out her cheeks, glared at Cobra, and said, "Your Excellency Ains, Yuba has been raining heavily during this time, but the desertification is serious, and there is no such thing as a moment. There is no way to recover. Your Majesty Ains, your identity is respected. My father can't bear Ains's Majesty to live here. I hope you can go to Albana to live temporarily." Albana Longyu turned his head and looked at Cobra, who was nodding his head with a restrained face, and said, "Relax, you don't need to be too restrained in front of me. As for Arnaba, we don't need to go there for the time being. Our guests should be arriving soon. Besides, didn't I say that there is a bigger gift for you?" The expressions of the people present changed slightly. For them, the most terrifying thing is not the pirates, but the fact that even the country can shake the Chihuahua. It can be said that in such a place where the weak eat the strong, the strength reaches a certain level, enough to surpass a country. However, what made Wei Wei and others more concerned was the bigger gift that Long Yu had mentioned over and over again. After all, in their eyes, nothing is more important than a reign. "Skull Demon, you have already won. Crocodile won't appear. I finally told him to leave." Daz, who was sitting in the corner of the room, suddenly spoke up. "Shut up, Ains-sama is so kind that he will keep you by his side, otherwise, the work done by your Baroque work club alone is enough to die 10,000 times. Who was standing beside Cobra, shouted coldly. However, he was quickly stopped by Long Yu and said, "He still has a bet with me. If Crocodile comes and loses in my hands, he will join my command. That's why he wished that Crocodile would not come, so that he would have an excuse to avoid me. Or, do you think Crocodile can beat me?" Having said that, Long Yu looked at Daz. Even Nico Robin, who fell into silence on the side, was no exception. Chapter 492, Being Replaced. Before they met Long Yu, in their eyes, Crocodile, who held the title of Chihuahua, was synonymous with power. But after personally experiencing the horror of the young man in front of him, everything was turned upside down. Faced with these words, they couldn't handle it. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the fidelity of the characters has increased by 20%, and the current fidelity is 60%. 60% fidelity." Long Yu's brows could not help but twitch. "I thought that this day would come very late, but I didn't expect it at all, and it came so soon." With a thought, the property panel opens directly. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host, the fidelity of the Laxus character template has reached 60%. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, unlocking the magic dragon scale of Thunder Dragon Slayer. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, unlock the Thunder and Lightning suit. Ding dang, congratulations to the host, unlocking the Dragon Slayer Profound Truth and Yule." Of the ethereal system prompts sounded one after another, causing Long Yu to be surprised. Feeling the warm current flowing rapidly in my mind, everything related to dragon scale transformation, dragon slaying mystery, etc., was imprinted in my mind in detail. However, before Long Yu could savor it carefully, the sound of rapid footsteps swept in under the tower. "Lord Ains, something is wrong, Crocodile is here." Seeing that he had transformed into a dog-human state and rushed to Gaka in a hurry, Long Yu couldn't help but raise his brows. He could react. Daz, who was in the corner, rushed out first. "You stop!" Belle exclaimed urgently, and was about to chase after him. However, he was quickly stopped by Long Yu's probe and said, "Let him go, it's still useful for him to go." Looking at Long Yu with a genial smile on his face, the people present couldn't help but startled. In their eyes, Daz is already a loser. Moreover, he secretly informed Crocodile, and now he suddenly rushed out. Shouldn't it become a variable? How could it become useful? It is 2 or 3 miles away from Yuba. This is a temporary settlement for refugees. It is also the only stronghold that was not covered by heavy rain. However, as long as it is difficult to reach here, they will be shocked by the clear scene of black and white in the sky. After all, in their eyes, the rain should have been uncontrollable. However, the king's army and the rebel army guarding here told them. Great Skull said that if it rains today, if it rains for 30 miles, it must be 30 miles. Absolutely not one more step, nor one less step. It is for this reason that once you arrive here and see this scene, hearing this rumor will definitely be a shock. For everyone in the population of the Great Skeleton, it is even more respected. The few billion-dollar reward orders were posted on the wall and worshipped by them. The Great Skeleton, I hope you can go to other places in Alabasta, and there will be a few more rains, so that we can get through the ordeal of the drought. An old man knelt in front of the reward order and prayed anxiously. However, before he could stand up, a huge black shadow shrouded down from the sky. And, in front of the reward order, Crocodile's figure condensed, and he looked up at the brand new reward order and the clear sky not far away, his face gloomy to the extreme. Did he ruin my good deeds? Crocodile said coldly. 3 days ago, he returned to the rain banquet, and after contacting the Warring States period, he found that Zephyr did not appear in Alabasta at all. Then, when I personally took over the Baroque Work Club, I discovered that Yuba, who was in a drought, actually started to rain. No matter how much dance powder they use, or how close they are, they can't take away a scent of the rain here. Seems that the rain on this piece of sky seems to take root here. This makes it extremely annoying. Crocodile of Water originally planned to fight to the death after the opponent came to the door. But as time passed, the other party was like a rock sinking into the sea, and there was no movement at all. And, he couldn't hold his breath and came to the door in person. This is the Skeleton King, the hero of our Alabasta. Without him, we would all die of thirst. The old voice came from behind. The word hero, like an invisible hammer, hits the depths of Crocodile's soul. Not long ago, he was synonymous with heroes in this country. However, now it has been replaced. No, it should be said that his reputation, in front of this big skeleton demon who can spread clouds and rain, is basically a firefly and a bright moon competing for glory. Looking back at the old man behind him, Crocodile's face sank, and the golden hook in his left hand slammed out. Since you don't come to me, then I will kill everyone here and see how long you can hide. The cold light circulated on the golden hook, and the violent shot made the old man never imagined it. Only thing that can be done is to stand in the same place stupidly, staring straight at it. The golden hook rapidly enlarges in the pupil. However, this thought just flashed in the old man's mind, and a black shadow took the lead and appeared in front of him. When the crisp metal collision sound echoed, and there were sparks splashing. Chapter 493, Torrent of Bones. Which was not too conceited at all, set off a gust of wind and rolled away. Looking at the figure that suddenly stopped in front of him, Crocodile's face sank and said, I feel very happy to see that you are not dead, but you are blocking me. If you don't give me a proper reason, don't blame me. No mercy. The face of his former confidant, who suddenly appeared in front of him, there was a hint of joy in Crocodile's heart. However, as the boss behind the Baroque Work Club, Crocodile can't be overjoyed. However, this trace of joy just appeared, but the next moment, it was annihilated in my heart. Lord Crocodile, run away quickly, or you will surely die. At this moment, the voice that did not escape to death, as if infused with a magical sound, directly hit the depths of Crocodile's soul. Looking at Daz who was standing in front of him, there was a ferocious look on his face, and he roared in anger. You bastard, I am one of the 7 Marshalseas, and Crocodile, the sand crocodile, is a born king. Your remarks offend me. Daz, you die for me. Desert treasure knife. The endless yellow sand gathered in Crocodile's right hand, and the next moment it turned into the shape of a treasure sword and slashed directly towards Daz. The violent scene made Daz's pupils shrink suddenly. He never imagined that, risking his own life, he rushed here to report the news, and he would be called to kill. However, this cannot be blamed on him, as a person with the ability to cut fruit quickly. Daz is also a tough guy. It is completely which pot is not mentioned, and which pot is uncovered. That was rapidly expanding in his pupils, he only had time to raise his hands to block. However, just as this thought appeared in my mind, a lifeless hoarse voice suddenly sounded. Shield of hatred. The simple 4 words were spit out, and the rapid sound of horse hooves suddenly sounded. Dark Shadow took the lead and appeared behind Crocodile. The desert sword that was originally slashed down. At this moment, unexpectedly uncontrollably, he slashed behind him independently. Bang! The sharp slash, with a stern sound of breaking through the air. It slashed directly on the huge bone shield. Gundam, the undead knight, who was more than 3 meters tall, took 2 or 3 steps back, and the huge body shook slightly. He raised the big knife in his hand and slashed towards Crocodile's back. The violent scene made Croc's color involuntarily change. Sway of the figure, it turned into yellow sand and scattered between the heaven and the earth. Appeared again, and has come to the back of the undead knight. No one. Silky Fancy, with his right hand like lightning, he patted the back of the undead knight. Desert prison. Bang! Endless yellow sand poured out from Crocodile's hands. Turned into dozens of tentacles, directly wrapping the undead knight into a zongzi. The next moment, with Crocodile's right hand suddenly caught in the air. Under the venting of the endless force, the huge skeleton of the undead knight shattered and opened. Boom! The white bones are scattered over the desert. Looking at this scene, Crocodile's face sank, and he snorted coldly, and said, Daz, is this the big skeleton demon you call it? It's really vulnerable and makes people feel ridiculous. Crocodile had heard of the skeleton demon's reputation. However, for him, the mountain is high and the emperor is far away, and the appearance of Long Yu does not threaten his conspiracy plan at all. It's just, I didn't expect it at all, and I was found to come to the door so quickly. In Crocodile's eyes, the skeleton demon is also a devil fruit power user, and it is not much different from ordinary bones. Roar! A low roar sounded suddenly. Was a loud hoof sound, as if responding to Crocodile's question. Dozens of undead knights who were created by Long Yu and guarded here instantly formed a torrent of charges. Headed towards Crocodile. The huge and powerful scene converged into a torrent of bones, making the entire desert vibrate. Crocodile couldn't help but look back and follow the sound. After seeing clearly, these dozens of identical undead knights. Only then did Crocodile understand that when Daz heard his mocking words just now, he would look at Tai Hanhan's expression on his face. It's a mistake to ride a horse. If the skeleton and white bones just now were the great skeleton demon, then what are the dozens of skeletons in front of them that converged into a torrent? Sir, hurry up, he will be there soon. Daz's expression sank, and he said anxiously. After walking, Crocodile's face sank, and he shouted sharply, Why should I leave? Today I will see if he has the ability to kill me. Desert Lan. With the 5 fingers of the right hand bluffing, the endless sand waves gathered crazily in the palm of the hand, turning into a small whirlpool. The next moment, without any bells and whistles, he swung head-on towards the incoming torrent of bones. Bang! As soon as the desert vortex came out, it grew rapidly out of thin air, and in a blink of an eye, it rose to the sky. A huge desert hurricane was formed, involving a group of undead knights. At this moment, the existence of gravel, like the incarnation of countless sharp blades, shreds the undead knight shrouded in it. Bang bang bang. Please download Fakin latest chapter to read the novel without underline. Chapter 494. Don't rush to die. Countless bones were thrown out in the hurricane and scattered in the yellow sand. The violent scene has already alerted the king's army and the rebel army in the refugee camp. Kosha's expression changed involuntarily. Are you the leader of the rebel army? I will give you a chance to surrender, otherwise you will be like the bones scattered on the ground. Crocodile's eyes turned in vain and fell on Kosha. In the face of the dragon feather that stabbed horizontally, Crocodile completely gave up the so-called gentle method. He needs someone to be his puppet regime. And the Kosha in front of him is undoubtedly the best choice. Leader Kosha, what should we do? S aggressive attitude. The adjutant standing behind Kosha couldn't help but ask. However, in the face of all this, Kosha stared at the bones scattered on the ground from beginning to end, except for a flash of surprise on his face at first. The next moment, he couldn't help shouting in a hurry, "Come on, Ain-sama, these skeleton soldiers, but Xiaoqiang who can't be beaten to death." The inexplicable words of Xiaoqiang, who could not be beaten to death, made Crocodile startled at first. Soon, a dark fog appeared from the bones scattered on the ground. Immediately, as if being manipulated by the invisible big hand, under the watchful eyes of the public, he reformed the posture of the undead knight. That intact appearance caused many people's pupils to shrink suddenly. Before everyone could react, dozens of undead knights suddenly raised their heads. The extinguished soul flame rekindled in the eye sockets. A hoarse and cold voice came out in unison. Undead / Bang! The dull thunderous sound of horse hooves sounded again. Dozens of undead knights rode their horses toward Crocodile again. The violent scene, not to mention the melon-eating group, even Crocodile was no exception. The undead knight who valued the resurrection from the dead didn't have time to think about it. Together with the sandstorm in his right hand, he once again displayed the desert storm, and suddenly threw it out. Bang! The endless hurricane of yellow sand shattered dozens of undead knights. However, as soon as the bones were scattered on the ground, in front of everyone's eyes, they were restored to their original state. Undead / A hoarse voice, without the slightest emotion. The undead knight who charged as if he could not kill Xiaoqiang. At this moment, in Crocodile's heart, there is only one sentence left. There is even a desire to die. You bastard skeleton demon, get out of here. After Crocodile threw a desert storm with his backhand to resist the impact of the undead knight, he roared and roared. Got up. However, just as the voice reverberated, a hoarse voice came out from behind him without warning. Crocodile, please don't rush to death. Near the 2-meter white skeleton, the ghostly figure walked out of the torn portal. In an instant, Crocodile's nerves tensed. Before he could think about it, the yellow sand in his right hand rolled down and slashed toward his back. Desert sword. Bang! The sharp knife gang slashed down in the blink of an eye at a close distance. However, facing the scene in front of him, Long Yu raised his right hand slightly and slammed away. Boom! Under the collision with no conceit, the huge force was vented, setting off a large wave of air and rolling away. Looking at Long Yu's big white-boned hand, it was actually covered by a dark, ink-like armament. Crocodile's pupils shrank suddenly, and the 5 fingers of Long Yu's right hand suddenly clenched tightly. Bang! The big knife that the yellow sand turned into was crushed and splattered under the gravel. Long Yu's left hand clasped on Crocodile's golden hook like lightning, and said with a genial smile, "Crocodile. I caught you." Liu Ying's 6th-style Profound Truth's largest real overlord spear. Armed domineering. Crocodile's expression suddenly changed, and he didn't have time to think about it, immediately. Drive fruit ability, intend to elementalize. However, at the moment when the thought first appeared, that pitch-black fist slammed into him. The speed was so fast that Crocodile had no time to resist. The rumbling sound was like a thunderous explosion, bringing with it an inexplicable smell of suffocation. The violent impact force, at this moment, like bursting a dike, madly vented out. Under the impact of invisible air waves, the surrounding desert land collapsed and collapsed. One of the 7 seas flew upside down like a cannonball. The desert land that passed along the way seemed to be torn apart by an invisible big hand. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, it crashed into a rocky mountain more than 10 meters high. The huge force of the boom was vented, and the thick rock mountain collapsed directly. Crocodile's body, like endless yellow sand, directly collapsed in the 4 directions of the sky. Everyone who witnessed this scene, especially Daz, their pupils shrank suddenly, their faces filled with disbelief. He had already expected that there was a certain gap between Crocodile and Long Yu. Like what Long Yu said not long ago, they chose to stay in comfort, that is to abandon the road of the strong. 490th chapters. Watching Death Come. As long as you are not blind, you can see that the gap between the two sides cannot be measured. The endless yellow sand, near the shattered huge rock, regrouped again. Looking at Crocodile with a gloomy face, a little messy clothes, and blood on the corners of his mouth. Long Yu was not in a hurry to pursue him. He stomped his right scepter on the ground, and said, "Crocodile, as a Chihuahua, you are considered a good fighting force, and I am also a person who loves talents. It is better for you to surrender and choose to surrender. Well, I don't want to kill you either. Persuade Chihuahua to surrender." Daz and others couldn't help but froze in place. Should not be said that the people present were stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. Who even the Navy headquarters, and even the whole sea, agree with, and even the world government can only appease the existence with the title of Shichibukai. Now that someone is threatening to die, is this insulting the long, established sand crocodile in the Chihuahua, or can it really be done? Swipe and lock on Crocodile's body. They were eager to know how Crocodile would react in the face of Long Yu's death threat. Good, a megalomaniac. Crocodile's face was extremely gloomy. Meeting Long Yu's gaze, he shouted angrily, "Back then, Whitebeard didn't dare to speak such words in front of me, but today I didn't expect that he would be underestimated by a hairy brat. I want to show you what the wrath of the strong is. You foolish people are buried in the endless sand with this arrogant person. You should know quickly why I chose to fight with you on this desert." The roars were repeated, resounding like thunder. Dormant, the fruit power in Crocodile's body rushes out. On the yellow sand land where he was originally, it was as if being stirred by an invisible big hand, and the waves rippled in circles, quickly surging away. The endless yellow sand was directly pulled like a wave and rolled slowly. It felt like Hong turned over on this desert land. Who are on the yellow sand have a feeling like feet. This strange desert rolling, even more quickly spread to the refugee camp. At this moment, Crocodile feels like the master who controls this endless desert. It makes one feel inexplicably terrified. "Princess Vivi, what should we do? Lord Ains can get." "When?" Ecolem, who came by the bone dragon, asked worriedly. In the face of Crocodile, the influence on this desert is gradually increasing. This kind of means like the god of domination. It just overturned their perception. In the system of devil fruit abilities, it is divided into 3 grades. Among them, the natural system possessed by Crocodile is the first, and it is also the most difficult to obtain. Bell said solemnly. Second only to the natural department, it is the superhuman type, and finally, I and Gaka have the same animal type devil fruit ability. However, after a series of battles and Ains Sama's methods, it can be judged that the animal type devil fruit he possesses is probably in the form of a phantom human fruit skeleton in the animal type. This type of fruit has its characteristics and methods should not be inferior to those of the superhuman type, or even the natural type devil fruit. Having said that, Bell looked at Long Yu subconsciously and said, "However, all of this is just my guess. The final result depends on whose fruit ability is developed more powerfully." These words fell, an inexplicable and oppressive atmosphere filled the air. Feeling the penetration of power into this desert, Crocodile raised his head suddenly, and a ferocious smile flashed on his face. "Little devil, your strength is indeed very good among the younger generation, but if you want to blame it, it is you, ignoring us seniors. How far I have reached, it is not luck that I can become Chihuahua. The level of the bounty does not represent strength." Crocodile roared again and again. The gloomy eyes turned in vain, locked on Long Yu's body, and looked at Long Yu with the same expression. He raised his hands suddenly, and roared in anger. "Today, I'm going to see, what ability do you have to set foot in Alabasta?" Sandstorm. The yellow sand that rumbled in all directions, like the surface of the sea, was rolled up, forming huge waves more than 10 meters high. The huge momentum gives people a taste of rising from the sky and rolling in. Who witnessed all of this were suddenly tense to the extreme. Especially the rebel army, the king's army and others in the refugee camp, facing the scene of being buried in the yellow sand in front of them, their hearts seemed to be tightly clenched by an invisible big hand. For them, facing this godlike attack method, he has no ability to protect himself at all, and the only thing he can do is to watch death come helplessly. 490th chapters, still owe a gift. However, just as this idea came into being, Long Yu, who was under attack, suddenly raised his head. With the deep-set white-boned eyes, under the skyrocketing soul flame, the moment when the right hand clenched the scepter, he suddenly stomped toward the yellow sand. Hoarse and cold voice, without the slightest hint of emotion, has a very penetrating taste, hitting the depths of everyone's soul. Sorry, I almost forgot, and I owe Wei a big gift. I still owe a great gift. The inexplicable words, at this moment, caused everyone in the field to be stunned for a moment. Even Crocodile is no exception. Look at the yellow sand whistling in all directions. In their eyes, this so-called gift should not be able to be linked to the current predicament. Now, at this juncture, Long Yu said such words, which undoubtedly gave people an intriguing feeling. Boy, are you so scared that you are confused? In this situation, I see how you can hide. Crocodile roared angrily. However, Long Yu moved. Taking a step forward, dormant, the huge magic power in the body exploded like a frenzy. Turned into a beam of light, hitting directly above the clouds in the 9 heavens, and even the backlogged lead clouds were penetrated in an instant. The scepter in his hand slammed on the ground in full view. Super magic world changes. Dang, colorful magic circles bloomed like fireworks under Long Yu's feet. The moment when the sky-high magic power exploded with a bang, it spread rapidly at an extreme speed. Wherever you go along the way. Is it air or sand? It was as if time had stopped for a while. No matter what. It was Vivi and the others, or the crazy crocodile, who seemed to have fallen into a deep swamp. It can be said that at this moment, the concentration of magic particles in the air is like the invisible waves of the sea. Enough to make people feel an inexplicable feeling of suffocation. However, all this is just the beginning. Long Yu's robes moved without wind, and the flame of the soul jumping in his eyes was burning fiercely. The intensity of the magic power diffused, together with Zhou's space, also stirred up distorted ripples. The next moment, the 5 fingers of the right hand suddenly clenched the scepter and simply spit it out. Earth. Boom. The endless yellow sand burst into a dazzling light at the moment when 2 words were swallowed. As a super magic world change, it can rely on powerful magic power. Turn waters into deserts and icebergs into lava. Now what Long Yu has to do is to turn the endless yellow sand into the vast land. None. With all the light, it blooms like a tide, and the dazzling light captures the whole world in an instant. Facing the sudden capture of vision, the nerves of the people present were tense. Crocodile couldn't help it, and quickly pulled back and quickly retreated. Under this unknown and strange means, Crocodile knew clearly that the safest way was to keep a sufficient distance. Bang! The dull collision sound resounded suddenly. Crocodile felt himself hitting a big tree. The strange feeling, the moment his thoughts stopped, the snow-white world in front of him quickly melted and receded like ice and snow met a spring day. The scene that came into view again made Crocodile's pupils shrink suddenly, and his eye sockets almost split. I can see, the originally endless yellow sand land has already turned into a green land at this moment. Vegetation, rivers and lakes, towering trees. Looking around, there is still a vast expanse of yellow sand, which has completely become a fairyland of Taoyuan. In particular, Wei Wei and the others who were on the bone dragon didn't have time to think about it, and hurriedly looked into the distance. As far as the eye can see, it is still an oasis. Looking at this miraculous scene, not to mention Vivi and others, even Crocodile couldn't help rubbing his eyes anxiously. However, even if they rubbed their eyes red, the miraculous scene in front of them was completely lingering. A moment ago, the yellow sand land dominated by Crocodile was completely occupied by the endless oasis. It's impossible, it's impossible. Who are you? What kind of devil fruit person are you? Crocodile snapped back to his senses, and roared like a frenzy. Without any hesitation, he turned his right hand toward the ground, pressed it down suddenly, and roared again and again. The earth is dry. Bang! The endless fruit ability is driven to the extreme. Wherever Crocodile's palm touched, the moisture was quickly absorbed away. The trees are withering, and the rock formations are turning into rolling yellow sand. Seeing this scene, the people present were stunned for a while. Recalling the rapid desertification of Alabasta in the past, could it be caused by Crocodile touching the earth in the middle of the night? However, this yellow sand spreading situation has just rolled back. Before Crocodile was happy, under the green light blooming, he returned to normal again. Looking at this strange scene, when the pupils constricted, Crocodile raised his head suddenly and stared at Long Yu with resentment on his face. Don't waste your energy, I have magic power to imprison this world. Although it is not long, only about 5 minutes, it is enough to deal with you. Long Yu said lightly. Chapter 497. Have two devil fruits at the same time. The transformed skeleton demon disintegrated before everyone's eyes. The most powerful superposition magic in the Bone King world, in Long Yu's current state, it can only be used twice a day. Just now, in order to make the magic more shocking, Long Yu directly covered a radius of tens of kilometers, exhausting the magic power in his body at once. At the same time, in order to avoid it, Crocodile will desert the earth again, and Long Yu will use up his magic power to maintain infinite self-repair for 5 minutes. This kind of method, in the world of the Bone King, would undoubtedly kill 1,000 enemies and lose 800. But for Long Yu, who has other character templates, it is not enough to fear. It has already been switched to the stance of Laxus. However, this scene fell in Crocodile's eyes, and undoubtedly saw a glimmer of hope. Bloodshot eyes, his eyes turned in vain, and at the moment when he was locked on Long Yu, he said coldly, you can't even maintain the shape of a skeleton. It seems that the blow just now is your limit. Now, I'll see if the legendary skeleton demon can still be defiant after losing the power of the devil fruit. Sandstorm. Voice fell, Crocodile's right 5 fingers suddenly opened, and the yellow sand gathered in the palm of his hand, turning into a hurricane. It was thrown towards the dragon feather suddenly. Bang! The moment the hurricane let go, it exploded in full view. Yellow sand rolled upside down, rose from the sky, and with a rolling posture, attacked Long Yu across the air. At the same time, Crocodile, who was standing in the same place, was like weathered and scattered with the wind. When he appeared again, he had already taken the lead and came behind Long Yu. It can be said that all that has been done just now is just a bait for Crocodile. The real killer move, he still likes to control it. Moreover, seeing Long Yu lose the ability of Devil Fruit, prefers to take advantage of this opportunity to give Long Yu the most fatal blow. The Desert Diamond Sword. With the roar, the yellow sand in Crocodile's hand rolled back and turned into 3 yellow sand swords. Without any bells and whistles, it slashed down towards Long Yu's back. In his eyes, Long Yu, who lost his fruit ability, will surely die under this blow. PFF'd. The air is tearing apart, and the yellow sand is roaring. Facing Crocodile's ultimate move, the air along the way swelled with endless ripples. The distance so close at hand, the time will add to the body. In Crocodile's eyes, victory was in sight. Bang! The sound of thunder suddenly echoed. The golden electric light bursts like a horse. Splashed, and the crackling arc flowed. Crocodile just felt a flower in front of him, the target he was trying to snip at, but in sight, annihilated out of thin air. Turned into an electric light, rising from the sky. Holding the Wanjun posture, the yellow sand slashing down with force, instantly failed. Towards the Rocky Mountain hundreds of meters away, whizzing away. Bang! The Rocky Mountain of dozens of meters was smashed to the ground in two pieces under the watchful eyes of the public, making a thunderous crash. It even set off a large wave of sand and dust, and rolled back around. However, in the face of all this, Crocodile had no time to think, and looked hastily behind him. Eager eyes instantly locked on Long Yu, who was more than 10 meters away. Facing the close change just now, he is now eager to verify one thing. The crackling thunder light quickly roamed Long Yu's body. The golden thunder arc, at this moment, seems extremely annoying. No, it's impossible, you actually broke the legend and possessed 2 devil fruits at the same time. Crocodile's expression changed drastically, and he roared like a madman. Desert sword. Under the gathering of yellow sand in the right hand, it was a knife in the air towards Long Yu. However, in the face of all this, Long Yu did not retreat. The moment Huo Ran raised his head, a playful smile flashed on his cold and arrogant cheeks. Looking at the incoming attack, there was no thought of dodging at all. His hands clenched suddenly, his muscles bulging like a rock. The next moment, the deep voice of Dragon Roar exploded in Long Yu's body. Thunder's Dragon Slayer magic turned into a dragon scale. Bang! Dormant, the magic power in the body was detonated in an instant. Endless thunder light shot up into the sky, and the incoming desert sword was directly smashed into pieces. At the same time, Long Yu's cheeks flashed a ferocious look, and his eyes flashed with lightning. Muscles of the whole body bulged like a rock, and the golden scales and armor patterns spread rapidly on the body. That was originally more than 2 meters was abruptly raised to nearly 3 meters. There was a trace of lightning on the surface of the body, and the lightning quickly circling and twisting turned into a combat suit. However, all of this was just the beginning. The dark and domineering armed color quickly spread across Long Yu's body. At this moment, Long Yu felt like the thunder dragon transformed by Gajiru in fairy tale. The face of this huge force full of limbs, Long Yu suddenly raised his head and locked on Crocodile's body instantly. Chapter 498, Crocodile is dead. The next moment, without any bells and whistles, in front of everyone's eyes, he stepped out. Bang! Wherever I landed, the ground seemed to be hit hard by lightning. The moment when it collapsed, Long Yu's huge figure disappeared out of thin air. Appeared again, and had come to Crocodile. Too soon. This is Crocodile's only thought at this moment. Facing the rapidly dilated Long Yu in his pupils, he didn't have time to think about it, and quickly raised his hands to block. He had thought about elementalization, but he was domineering in the face of armed colors. All this seemed to be in vain. The Thunder Dragon Slayer magic profound truth sings the thunder. Endless thunder light, at the moment when the 5 fingers clenched tightly, frantically poured into the right hand. The golden light that bloomed flashed with a strange blood red. The next moment, it turned into a frenzy, as if cutting through the sky, slashing on Crocodile's body. The sound of rolling thunder exploded like a frenzy. One after another, the scarlet-like blood-like thunder light swept across the earth like a savage dragon. Wherever you go along the way, the rocks, the big trees, and even the rock formations in the earth are as vulnerable as paper paste, and they are directly smashed and opened. In it, intertwined his hands, accompanied by the crisp sound of bones breaking, and it was cut off under the eyes of the public. Like a raging tide, the cathartic lightning impact, even more unabated, rushed straight into Crocodile's chest. Bang! Nearly 3 meters, the body like an iron tower. Under this blow, like an arrow from the string, it flew out directly. Under the huge impact, all the trees along the way were shattered. And, the heavy impact hit the rocky cliffs tens of meters high and thousands of meters away. The huge impact force and the violent thunder light directly shattered the thick rock wall. A mouthful of hot blood spurted out from Crocodile's mouth. The sternum was even more shattered, and the entire terrifying posture collapsed. The thunder light dissipated, Crocodile, who was separated by 1,000 meters, rolled his eyes hard, and then glanced at Long Yu one more time. It's impossible to spit out the words that come to the mouth. The next moment, he tilted his head and died. Ming Yulei, as one of Lax's strongest ultimate moves. It is to accumulate the magic power of the whole body at one point, and at the moment of collision, like a raging wave, the attack is directly detonated. The accumulated violent thunderlight will also penetrate into the human body instantly, forming a direct impact. One-hit kill power, in the original, Laxus. But with this move, he directly killed Jura of the Holy Ten Middle School. Dead, dead. Shibukai, Crocodile was killed. I don't know who exclaimed. Daz, who was standing in the distance, watching the battle, had a face full of disbelief. Seeing that there was no sound and no heaving of his chest, Crocodile couldn't help but fell to his knees on the ground. Long time, in Daz's eyes, Crocodile was like a mountain, giving him an insurmountable feeling. A moment ago, although he kept telling Crocodile to escape, otherwise he would definitely die. But for him, it was just to make Crocodile retreat. He firmly believed that Long Yu might be able to defeat Crocodile. But there is absolutely no way to kill him. However, from the very beginning, Long Yu had the upper hand in terms of the domineering armament and the profound meaning of the sixth style physique. In the confrontation of the fruit's ability in the back, the means of changing the world, but also the head of the Shasha fruit. At the end, one body and two fruits, dragon feather, showing the ability of the second devil fruit. All of this was already doomed to the outcome of the battle. A victory has already tilted towards Long Yu. It can be said that in this battle, Crocodile died not unjustly. It's not that he is too weak as Chiwahai. On the contrary, the skeleton demon is too strong. The billion-dollar bounty is not a vain name. The huge battlefield fell into an inexplicable silence. In front of them and couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. In their eyes, Crocodile is a rare powerhouse among pirates. Even Alabasta, known as a desert country, can only be wary in the face of such existence. However, now it was nailed to the wall with a punch. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe that this scene is true? Daz. Long Yu dissipated the power that filled the body with dragon scales, and looked back at one. This look, immediately. The expression of Nico Robin on the side changed slightly and said, "Be willing to admit defeat, at this time, it's not worth risking your life." Nico Robin didn't resist much for joining Long Yu. At least, in his eyes, no matter what. It was in the Baroque Working Club, working for Crocodile. Or join Long Yu's subordinates. Everything is for blessing. Chapter 499, 3 years of hard work. Now Long Yu is not only limited, but also parachuted into Alabasta with a bounty of 1 billion. He also killed Crocodile in seconds with his crushing power. All this alone, Nico Robin has no choice. "No, kill me," Daz said in a low voice. Nico Robin looked stiff. She has been on the run all the time, and in order to survive, she will give her life to Crocodile. I never thought that Daz, the most powerful bounty hunter in the West Sea, would come this far for Crocodile. For this, Long Yu was not surprised. In the original book, Daz is a true companion of Crocodile. Could be rescued by 3, he was willing to have no mood because of Crocodile's words. To be rescued and were sent directly to the underwater prison. Ding dong, congratulations to the host, Ains Gong, the fidelity has increased to 75%. Congratulations to the host, unlocking the recovery of the 8th Order dead. Congratulations to the host, for unlocking the permission to summon the Great Tomb of Narasak. A series of system ethereal prompting sounds echoed in my mind. Long Yu raised his brows and smiled genially. Originally, Long Yu felt a little regretful about Crocodile's death. Although, I knew early on that the Bone King had the means of resurrection. But I thought it would take a long time to unlock it. I didn't expect it to be unlocked in advance suddenly. However, seeing the desertification of Juba, under the change of the super magic world, it has directly evolved into an oasis. This kind of miraculous scene, once it really spreads completely, will definitely shock the Great Channel and even the entire world. At that time, Long Yu will get more world turmoil points to unlock the world's restraint on him. Long Yu carefully reviewed the information in his mind, and then withdrew from the consciousness space. Looking at Daz with a determined face, he said, "I didn't expect that you would rather die than work for me. For your chivalry's sake, if I can resurrect Crocodile, would you be willing to make another deal with me? As long as you are willing to give me the crocodile after working hard for 3 years, you will work for me for 3 years. After 3 years, you will be free again, and you will be strangers to me from now on. Of course, you can also refuse my proposal. Perhaps, to your ears, this sounds so fantastic." The slightly elusive voice reverberated between heaven and earth, and there was no way to dissipate it for a long time. "Do not." It was Daz, even Wei Wei and the others couldn't come back to their senses. The moment before, Crocodile was beheaded in front of them. That is, the dead can no longer die, and the body is still hot. Now Long Yu turned his head and told them that he could resurrect the dead. "Are you joking? Daz, take Crocodile with you. Ains-sama won't joke about this kind of thing." Nico Robin couldn't help but said. Nicole Robin doesn't have many special feelings for Crocodile. However, now she is working under Long Yu's command. Since Long Yu planned, let One and Crocodile work for him for 3 years. As his subordinate, Nicole Robin still needs to use all feasible methods to accomplish this task. Daz was stunned, looking at the gradually receding figure and the huge oasis here. If it is said that the resurrection of the dead is a dream-like thing, then this means of changing the world. Before Long Yu didn't use it, could it be the same? Thinking of this, Daz gritted his teeth and hurriedly carried Crocodile's body on his back, followed Long Yu quickly and left. At the same time, Wei Wei also followed suit. After seeing with his own eyes, Long Yu's various miraculous methods. Wei Wei is like a bridge between Alabasta and Long Yu. Looking at the vegetation along the way, she really hoped that Long Yu would perform 2 more miracles to save Alabasta from the ordeal of the drought. "Mosamoxi, teacher, I'm Bastius." The voice of the phone bug rang suddenly. Long Yu frowned, but still connected the phone bug. He knew very well that this kind of thing couldn't contain fire. Instead, let others pass the news to the Navy headquarters. It's better to pass it on in person, so that the movements of the Navy headquarters can also be completely controlled by their own applause. "I'm Laxus, speak up." As for the character template of Laxus, it was originally a cold personality, and his anger was invisible. The phone worm was connected, Bastius didn't care, and hurriedly said, "Teacher, 3 days ago, I met Crocodile in the rain banquet. He encouraged pirates to loot merchants and civilians, and then played the role of a hero. Rescued them. Do I need to report this matter to the Navy headquarters and let them investigate in person?" In Bastiu's eyes, Crocidar of the Shichibukai is a great pirate recognized by the Navy and even the world government. He recognized the strength of Laxus. However, even more reluctant, his teacher took the risk. Chapter 500, In the Name of the Father. If the Navy headquarters can come forward, it will be the best. However, this idea just sprouted in Bastiu's mind. The next moment, the words that fell in his ears made his expression stiff. "No need, Crocodile has been killed by me. However, he was accidentally killed by me and the skeleton demon, and the body was taken away by the skeleton demon. Right now, Long Yu's large size has not been unlocked. Therefore, I do not hope that Laxus' identity and the identity of the skeleton demon will be confused. The most effective way is to take the initiative to inform, to confuse the audience. Old teacher, you said that the great skeleton demon appeared in Alabasta and unexpectedly joined forces with you to kill Crocodile." Bastius woke up suddenly and asked anxiously. The existence of the great skeleton demon was simply a lingering shadow to Bastius. That powerful strength and endless means, even the Navy headquarters was toyed with and applauded. However, now Long Yu actually told him that the great skeleton demon appeared in Alabasta to kill the dignified Shichibukai and crocodile. If you hadn't heard it with your own ears, who would want to believe that it was all true? Later, Princess Weiwei will give you an official explanation. Long Yu didn't explain too much. Sometimes, the more you talk, the more flaws you get. Moreover, the most convincing one is Vivi from Alabasta, the former royal family of the dragon people. Weiwei, who was following Long Yu's side, heard the words, her expression changed slightly, and she quickly nodded in agreement. Unlike Bastius, who was kept in the dark. They knew for a long time that Uchiha Ryayu, Ains Gong, and Laxus were the same person. Weiwei didn't know why Long Yu did this. However, since Long Yu appeared as the Bone King, not only was it given to Juba for 7 majestic days, just now, the yellow sandy land of Juba was turned into a boundless oasis. These kindnesses alone are enough for Weiwei to give Long Yu. To complete this, Ains-sama, don't worry, there are not many people watching the battle, I will immediately send the order down and let them keep their word. Weiwei made a quick statement. At the same time, I will report the process of this incident to the Navy headquarters as my father. Who suddenly became serious. Long Yu stopped and patted her shoulder and said, I don't worry about your work. Also, don't worry, I have no plans for Alabasta. The same. At the time, the Navy headquarters, in the boot camp. The huge square was full of new recruits for training. Who retired as a former admiral and became the chief instructor of recruits, was looking around the queue of recruits with a serious face. When I saw some outstanding students, a trace of comfort flashed in the depths of my eyes. It can be said that as a teacher, there is no comparison with the newcomers who have been cultivated by oneself, who can successfully walk out of the boot camp. Becoming a pillar of the Navy is even more worthy of making people feel happy. Thinking of the upcoming recruits, graduation act soon, Zepha's face became more solemn, and he shouted in a deep voice, Today, everyone is gathered here, that's because, next, you will participate as recruits. See combat exercises. In the training camp, you may be very poor, or you may have just passed the standard, and some have good talents, with strengths beyond ordinary people, reaching the level of superhumans. However, once you walk out of this gate, in the eyes of this old man, it is nothing but a fart. This old man is enough to beat a group of you, but it is still the kind that destroys the group. The awe-inspiring voice reverberated between heaven and earth, and there was no way to dissipate it for a long time. It's just that the Navy soldiers below obviously didn't take it to heart when he spoke so ruthlessly. It can be said that this kind of admonishment has been heard by them for 3 years in the Navy headquarters. And, the more I listened, the more cordial it was. Looking at the expressionless recruits below, the cold arrogance on Zepha's face also slightly restrained, and said, After half a month, I will apply for you to go to the Great Channel and participate in the actual combat assessment. You can concentrate here, you are all the elites among the Navy recruits, so the assigned assessment tasks are also different. Anyone who has a reward of more than 10 million pirates will become a major directly, and a pirate with a reward of 30 million Baileys will make you a lieutenant colonel. Pirates with a reward of 50 million will make you colonels. When you have the ability to arrest pirates with a reward of 100 million, you will be brigadiers. Having said that, Zepha's tiger eyes swept across the field like torches, and finally landed on the 4 most important confidants, shouting sharply, However, I can tell you very responsibly. As soon as you walk out of the boot camp, there are very few people who can make an exception to become a commodore, at least not among you. If you think that the old man is talking nonsense, then please show the strength of a Kainu Chingzi and those little devils, otherwise don't be a hero in front of this old man, and don't set your goals too high. If possible, I would rather you fail than lose your life. To implement the justice of the Navy, you need to live, you know.